tall ships, Patty,
Yes.
are coming to the California coast.
Heading our way.
To a port near you, starting down in Ventura and working their way up the coastline. We are joined right now by Joe Follansbee. He is with the Grays Harbor Historical Seaport Authority, which is a mouthful, and joins us on the line right now. Hey, Joe.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
We're doing very well. Thank you. What is the Grays Harbor Historical Seaport Authority?
Well, Grays Harbor Historical Seaport Authority is the nonprofit based in Aberdeen, Washington, that owns the tall ships Lady Washington and Hawaiian Chieftain, which are going to be in Ventura next weekend.
And this is not their first trip. Is this an annual event?
That's correct. For about a little more than 20 years now, Lady Washington has been sailing up and down the West Coast, and she stops every year about this time in Southern California, Ventura, Oxnard, Long Beach, San Pedro. And what we do is offer tall ship education, living history education programs, primarily for K through 12 students, and Boy Scout groups and Girl Scout groups, and senior centers sometimes. And also we offer excursions, 3-hour excursions on these tall ships. And as I was listening to you guys earlier, you mentioned our cannon battles. Would you like to hear about those?
Yeah, we would. I was going to say, what? Give us some of the highlights. So there you go. Cannon battles must be one of the highlights, right?
Do you use real cannons?
We use real cannon. The same thing you see in the movies. And we call them battle sails, and they're by far our most popular activity. And essentially, what the boats do is, as I said, we have 2 tall ships, Lady Washington and Hawaiian Chieftain, and we load passengers aboard, buy tickets, and they go out sailing. And then we kind of pretend that we're back in the 18th century, and we have a little naval skirmish, and they fire real cannon with real gunpowder, but no cannonballs. So nobody's hurt. We have a great time.
No harm, no foul.
No harm, no foul. But we try to be as close to the real thing as we can, within safety limits. So we do kind of close quarters maneuvers with the ships going around at each other, and you hear the captain and the crew barking orders, and prepare to fire, that kind of stuff. It's great. Everybody has a great time.
So, Joe, I'm wondering. I just realized for people watching online right now, it says Spud Hilton under your face. I apologize for that. I'm going to put your other picture up that does have the correct spelling. Joe, I'm wondering. I would imagine maneuvering a tall ship is somewhat of a lost art. How do you find people that are able to move these ships up and down the coast with such accuracy?
Well, we actually train those people. There's a small but fairly tight-knit tall ship community around the country, and we, along with other vessels on both the West Coast and East Coast and the Great Lakes, we train young people to become tall ship sailors. So, Randall, if you wanted to learn how to sail one of these ships, we'll take you aboard for a couple of weeks. We have a program called 2 Weeks Before the Mast, and we'll teach you how to do this.
How cool is that?
How to be a deckhand. So you'll do everything like raise a sail, and you'll learn what all the ropes are called, and you'll also probably, unless you're scared of heights, you'll climb up to the top of the main mast and learn how those 18th century sailors used to do their jobs.
What's that thing called at the top where the person, the lookout
looks like a little
area?
basket, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, well, usually it's called the masthead, although Lady Washington and Hawaiian Chieftain don't have either of those.
Oh, okay.
But you can climb up there, and you'll be 9 stories off the water.
Whoa.
And you just hold on.
Yeah, I might not be doing that portion of the
Not a job
training.
for you, Randall.
Come on, Randall, aren't you adventurous?
I am at ground level. So it sounds really fun, though. Now, I noticed in some of the pictures you've shared with us, the crew is all in period dress.
That is correct. We try to be as authentic as possible. So all the crew wear what most people would call them costumes. We call them funnies because we look funny in them. But seriously, we try to recreate the experience as authentically as possible. and we'll use the same techniques, the same commands that you'll hear from the captain and the mate, and so for 3 hours you'll be back in the 18th century.
That's amazing.
It really is amazing. And, explain the importance of kind of keeping these traditions alive. Obviously, new technology and other things have come along, but you're still doing it this old-fashioned way. What's important about keeping those traditions going?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. One is that everybody in our organization loves history. We think that, to know history, at least maritime history, in some detail, helps us understand where we are today, how we got where we are. I mean, of course, we're used to cars, we're used to planes, we're used to interstate freeways, but those are very recent developments in the history, even of our country in California. I mean, it used to be that the only way that you could get from place to place, if you wanted to go from L.A. to San Francisco, is by water. Mm-hmm. If you didn't want to spend, 6 weeks on a horse. And so keeping those traditions alive, telling young people about those things is really at the core of what we're about. I mean, we are education-focused, nonprofit. We want to keep these traditions alive. We want people to understand where we came from as far as maritime transportation goes. And so far, we've been very successful and very lucky.
California was mostly settled, I believe, by ships during the gold rush. People weren't necessarily coming by land. They were going around the tip of South America and coming up that way to get to the gold fields.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, in 1849, remembering my high school history, the Transcontinental Railroad didn't exist. So you could travel overland, but it would take you 3 months.
Is that all?
Whoa.
Yeah. And then you might get stuck at like Donner Pass or something, and we know how that turned out.
There you go. That would be a bad thing. So many people, actually most people, before the railroads came into use, would travel by sea around Cape Horn and used, if not exactly the same kinds of ships, certainly the same techniques, the same traditions, and same skills that we use on our tall ships, they used back then.
So, Joe, after Ventura, you hit Morro Bay, and then where do you head from there?
From Morro Bay, we're going to go to San Francisco. We'll be there at the end of February. We'll be there at Pier 40 for a few days. Then we're going to head to Redwood City.
Oh.
Down Silicon Valley way, and we'll be there for a couple of weeks. And some of our stops in the Bay Area that include Oakland and Sausalito, and then from there we're going to start making our way back up to Washington State.
No stop in Monterey no stop in Monterey or Santa Cruz?
Not this time. Maybe next year, but we're on a tight schedule. We got to head to San Francisco.
Right. Well, Joe Follansbee with the tall ships that are just about to hit the California coast here. You can head to the website. We have a link at eatdrinkexplore.com that will show you all of the different dates and how you can partake, maybe even learn how to become a sailor on one of those ships. Joe, thanks for being on the show with us today. Grays Harbor Historical Seaport Authority.
Great. Thanks so much.